We locate the wives and daughters of these high-value targets.
You made it! Told you I was coming.
And we place an operative close to them, and we kill the target.
So I wanted to talk to you about one of the first instances where we meet Joe.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was almost set up in a way for us to kind of understand Joe a little bit better. Like, it's one of the first times we meet her is when she makes that decision to sacrifice one of her assets. And it's really interesting in the sense of it shows that Joe is also pragmatic, but not without feeling. How will those qualities serve her as the show progresses?
I mean, they serve her very well. You meet her right when she's at the brink of something. You don't know what it is, but every time you follow her into all of her important environments, you feel that edge, right? And that's exactly what Taylor wanted you to feel for her. And to have that fear, like, is she gonna fail? Is she gonna fail? Because everybody in her environment has that. Her husband feels like, oh my God, you're not even around. Her daughter can't stand her. Her mentor's always studying her, and she's being challenged by this new recruit. So it's everywhere you go, Joe can't catch a break. But the thing about Joe is that it is in her best interest and is part of her training to always be 5 steps ahead. Always. And then and by doing that, she knows when she has to go off the grid. Because at the end of the day, she needs to give this environment the impression that at all costs, she will not fail this mission. Yeah. And then she needs to give this environment the impression that at all costs, they come first, right? And so she has to protect. She has to protect what she's truly thinking and what she's truly feeling at all times.
It's interesting that you say that, because one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the way that she compartmentalizes everything. Like, have you ever played a character who compartmentalizes like that, and you have to play almost like different versions of yourself within this character?
Every day. It's my life. I go to work for 14 hours and I'm here and I'm on, and then I come home and I really have to try to the best of my abilities to keep these worlds separate, because when they bleed into each other, you're dragging everybody that's super innocent, that has nothing to do with anything of what you do. You can't just dump those loads onto them. So you can't bring work home and you can't bring home to work, So you're constantly compartmentalizing that. And then when you run a team, a staff, like a big staff, in order for me to move my entire family operation, people are relying on you, and they're relying on you actually being pragmatic and being there. And so you're the person that sleeps the least. You're the person that thinks the most. But you do it. So Joe is a treat, because Joe is all of that, but like in a super galactic 10th power, and that required a lot of imagination, and it was fun.
So did you find yourself bringing a lot of your real life experiences to the role because you've experienced?
I tried when it applied. I tried, and when I didn't have anything to pull from, I leaned in to the team that Taylor surrounded us with ex-military people. And reading a lot, working with my coach, and watching doing a lot of research. Yeah. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So we were talking about the compartmentalizing of situations when we mentioned the family. That's where she also has to compartmentalize. What was it like kind of exploring that relationship within the family? The one with her husband, the broken connection between her and her daughter.
I feel like that's probably... That's her Achilles, and I chose that for her. I'm a mother. Nothing is more important than those 4 men in my life, and I feel like for Joe it would be the same thing, which is why it's just hard for her to let down a lioness, because I feel like she sees her daughter in every woman that she trains, and vice versa. She sees the lioness in her daughter at all times. So I feel like that's her breaking, or is it? It was hard, but I had a lot of conversations with Taylor, and there were many versions that he could have taken, many paths when it came to Joe and Neil. in terms of like, oh, well, she's not around, therefore this needs to be broken. It's an easy kill.
Yeah.
Or they can just hold on to that little thread. And because there is something there, there's a spark, there's a love, there's respect, there's reverence. And Taylor said something that stayed with me. He was like, I don't want to be brokenhearted every episode, knowing that she's making sure that she doesn't fail at work, and then she comes home and it's failed. It's a failed mission there. I don't. I want a love story. I want love to try to win. And he goes, because that's what I would imagine human beings that choose a line of service would do. They try to make it work, not just at work, but at home too.
Yeah.
And I loved that. He goes, I don't want Jo to have a shitty life when she comes home.
Yeah.
I want her to have a great home.
It requires work, but she can still have it. So I only had the pleasure of watching one episode. That's all we were given. But I assume the role becomes a lot more physically demanding in terms of like stunts that you have to do.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the show will have a lot of action, and you will get to really celebrate Liza and Bobby and the entire Lioness team that Jo has put together. But Jo is more of a paramilitary, operative. So she's here with Caitlin in the White House, and she's there on the field with her team. And but I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Trust me, this was new. I'm used to. It's so funny because every time, the very few times that I did grab a gun or a semi, all the stunn's like, this is this, and I'm like, may I? I'm like, so I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Come on, like I know how to handle myself, and I've been doing stunts and everything. It was good to sort of not be that muscle.
Yeah.
And use and challenge myself emotionally and dramatically for because I don't feel like I've done that for a long time, and it was such a meaty character to get into. But I've been told that when we go for season 2, that
I was about to ask.
that will not be the case. So I've already been told like you'll need a month's worth of training physically, and then with weapons. And I'm like, all right, bring it on. My hips, my knees are still good, so.
You've had plenty of practice from Marvel.
Exactly.
Yeah. What was it like maybe working with Nicole Kidman? Because is this the first time you've done an espionage role, I'm assuming?
Yeah,
and that's the first time she's done one as well. So what was that like, kind of exploring new territory together?
One of the thrills of my career, of my life, just getting to work with one of my giants. I've admired her work since Dead Calm, and she's indiscutiblemente, undisputably, one of the best actors of our generation. And she works just as hard. She's just as passionate. She gets just as excited. She does all this research. She is the most prepared. She is no joke, a machine, a Terminator. Like she's everything that I imagined her to be. And then she's a Gemini, and she's nice, and she's devoted to her family. So we have so many things in common, and she's still somebody that I'm learning from every day. And now even again, we're serving as producers. So we're constantly talking and giving notes and standing as a united front with Paramount Plus and with 101 Studios. And it's been a wonderful experience so far working with Nicole. So I would love for us to get a chance to continue doing this with Lioness.